crispy.
What's up, y'all, and welcome to another episode of Figures in Action. And today I bring to you a New York City style bodega. So, if you are not familiar with what a bodega is pretty much like a corner store. A corner grocery and deli type store. It's very unique because when you go into a bodega, the way you see this set up here, kind of the front window there, bodegas be like this, man. They be stacked up, like they'll have a million things on a counter. It's insane. I need to go into some bodegas and take some footage before they all disappear, because it's a very unique type of situation. Bodegas historically been known to also sell weed. So you can go to New York and there were some bodegas that if you knew, you knew. So bodegas are a little mom and pop business that can get a little crazy. So I was contacted by an individual who wanted to get New York City style bodega. He showed me a picture of somebody else's diorama that was a bodega as well, and he kind of wanted it to be the same. Unfortunately, I cannot do that. I cannot copy. I will not. Not that I cannot. I will not copy anyone's diorama. The only thing I'll ever copy if it's a replica of a movie, of a show, something like that. But for the most part, I want to always create something new so that whoever purchases these dioramas are getting a unique one of one. You know, you have Extreme Sets. That's a company that pretty much creates they create, I guess, diorama backgrounds. And they, so if you have one, everyone has one. All the backgrounds look the same. You look at action figure photography, everything's looking similar. That's why I think it's great when you can get a commissioned custom diorama. So let me take out Mr. Tony Stark here, and I just wanted to have him there for reference in terms of the size. This is a 1/12 scale dial created for 6 to 7-inch figures. So the original dial, or the picture that he wanted me to emulate, the whole front was yellow, so there was no brick here. So I decided to kind of just change it up a little bit, just add a little bit of brick, and then also, to kind of give him more of that yellow, because it seemed like he was interested in that yellow. I just did it on the side there. And then, so that's how I went about it. And then what he wanted me to do originally, he wanted me to take this wall and make it interchangeable so you can put on that side. The problem was that it would have been a double-sided wall. If you eliminate this wall and you put it there, then you're just kind of limited to taking pictures like this. So I said, you know what, let me just, a lot of times, and I do this from time to time, just so you guys know, I'll settle on a price with you. We agree on a price, and I'll start to build, and I'll decide I just want to add something. I generally won't ask the client for more money. I can't remember ever wanting to add something, hitting the client up, hey, oh, by the way, I want to add this, so can you add more money? Never that. It's just something I end up doing for two reasons. First, gives me a little more practice. Second, it allows the client to have something a little extra that they weren't expecting. And two, it's great for content. It's great for what I'm doing in terms of creating these and posting them and so forth. So it helps everyone out, I guess, is my point. Everyone kind of wins in this situation. So let's get into what I use to create this diorama. All right, so let's start off with just kind of going through everything. So this is installation foam board. Same thing here. This is also installation foam board, and what I did there is I just let me put a light on that. What I did is I just took a piece of installation foam board and I just put some lines in it. Did the pencil thing, just I would do with the bricks. That kind of became an electricity box. Excuse me, and then I did the do-it-yourself straws, became the kind of the piping for that. Every single bodega I've ever seen in life always has like a Newport poster. And so instead of just laying it flat, what I did is I kind of did it the way they're done in bodegas, where it's a frame and you just change the poster. So usually it's just a frame that's kind of surrounded by silver, and you kind of slide the poster off, and then you slide in a new poster. So I kind of wanted to go with that style, so it has a little bit of kind of that look, instead of just kind of putting it flat on the wall as those are, which this is more realistic. This is how they usually do it. They just paste stuff on the wall. Okay, so that's that. This here was created out of the project foam board, and that's all this is. It's just project foam board glued together. This does come off. I'll show that at the end. What I did here in terms of how I went about the letters and so forth. So I painted everything in red, gave it a acrylic sealer cover. I think I used Mod Podge. Then what I did is I took vinyl letters and I kind of put everything out, you know, measured it, and then I went over it with a yellow, and then I peeled the letters off so you can get the red underneath. If you see closely, you'll see how the yellow crept in a little bit in some spots under the you know, kind of the vinyl letters that I had in place, but it's still, I was able to fix it and it still looks good. So that's how I went about that, and I'll show again how that gets installed and taken out. This is just corrugated cardboard here. The frame inside is foam sheet, but the adhesive foam sheet that has the adhesive part on the other side. So that's what both frames are made out of, and the framing on the door is balsa wood across. So there's two levels. I made the outer frame, and then I did the kind of the inner door frame. So you'll see there's two different ones. And let me see. Same thing here. This is actually basswood as well, and this is just kind of where the roll down gray would go. Let me see over here. I use the same thing for the borders here, that foam sheet with the adhesive back, and then I put some dowel rods as kind of bars, and then kind of that metal grate in the back. So that's kind of, you know, that's how that was built. Let me see. Do I feel like it's where is it? Oil-based paint. So the problem if you use several oil-based paints is that to paint over each other. So let's say I would have done the white and oil-based and then came back in black. That would have been okay, I think, for the most part. But if you start using a bunch of different colors, oh my God, I'm trying my best to explain this. These markers, when they paint over the same paint, it tends to kind of dry it out quicker. It's not as smooth. So a lot of times I'll just go with acrylic paint first, then I'll come in second with this, so that it's just so much smoother. I mean, I've tried to do just a piece completely out of oil-based markers, and it just doesn't look good. It doesn't work. So Sharpie's the brand here, but it's as long as it's an oil-based type of marker, then you should be good to go in terms of these projects. What I did is I used obviously researched some bodegas, and I just took pieces. You know, bodegas always have all these advertisements right on the front window. So in this case, EBT cards, which is kind of a food stamp card. If you know, you know. Then we have the open sign. We have the backwoods CBD products. Most stores open, are selling those now. ATM, blah, blah, blah. Now, the interesting part is that for one of the windows, I wanted to make it seem like it's stacked up, and I could not find any pictures online until I finally looked up Bodega, which is a store called Bodega here in Boston. It's a sneaker boutique, and this is their front window. So and somebody took a great picture of it, so I was able to copy or just kind of shrink it to fit into here. But this is an actual window of a store called Bodega that's actually a sneaker boutique, which is kind of cool. It's actually one of the best stores in the world. Bodega is an amazing store. I know the owners, great people. I love what they're doing over there. So that's where I got that from. And then for the floor, I just went with some plant dirt and some pieces of paper to make it look like it's just debris and so forth. And then those little black things. I don't know if you guys have ever really looked at a city sidewalk. Just look down real quick. All you're gonna see is a bunch of black dots everywhere. That's just gum. That's just gum. Let me see. And the reason I left this, I didn't go yellow all the way, because in my visual, this wall continues and a sidewalk would continue here. So I just kind of wanted to make that a little different. So I didn't go all the way in terms of the yellow there. And I think that is it. So for the painting, because somebody was like, man, I love how... So I'm learning more and more about applying colors the way I want them to look. Most of the time I get it right. Sometimes I don't get it right. In this particular case, I love how everything came out. And I used 3 different levels. So first is just, you know, this was painted in black. Then we went over with the gray. Then we went over with like a darker, just a kind of a dry brush. Then I went with a just soaked, just diluted black. And then lastly with an airbrush. And I think those 4 different colors gives it, you know, the look I was, you know, I wanted. Wanted to make it a little, you know, dirty and grimy. It is New York City. It is pretty gross in the city. I shouldn't say it like that. I love New York, so I didn't mean it in a bad way. I like gross. Anyway, and then over here, I took a couple of the Obey and the Shepherd Ferry Obey and Cope had a collaboration 9 years ago. And this was part of the collaboration where Cope took over some of the posters. So I wanted to make sure I added that, but also wanted to make it seem like the posters were worn down. I didn't put any graffiti on that wall because the client wanted the graffiti to kind of stick more to this wall. So I kind of did that. But yeah, so, oh, and the last thing I'm going to show you guys is taking it apart. So what I did here, and I'm going to try my best to do it with one hand, but what I did here is I just, as I generally do, this is just stabbed in. I got it. Okay, perfect. So just using these little dowel rods into those little, you know, peg them into those holes. So this is how this thing comes off, and this is what it kind of looks like, the guts of it or whatever. But yes, I you know, airbrushed that a little bit, as you can see. But I love how it came out, especially when I started painting it underneath the paper. Is not totally adhered. So it kind of bubbled up a little bit, and I love that look. I think that came out great, but I was able to seal it so it won't come apart. And then it's just this sidewall here, this sidewall, this wall, and here's the back of this wall. And that is pretty much it. All right, y'all. I have some more pictures at the end. Comment, like, subscribe, all that good shit. And I'm out of here. Peace.